Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama, downtown Northport. How we doing today? Welcome in to a Wednesday edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral. You're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You're listening to us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. And, of course, you're reading about it every day right there on BamaCentral.com. We appreciate everybody who's jumped in and joined us today. You can always follow us at Joe Gaither6 for any of your, send us any of your comments, your questions, queries, and complaints or critiques right there on all the social media machines at Joe Gaither6, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find us. I am at Joe Gaither6. We're going to have hopefully a fun show today, and we're going to have a lot of fun with one of my friends. We're going to be joined by Michael Brauner of WNSP right down there, 105.5 in Mobile. Michael Brauner covering all things SEC, Alabama, Auburn, everything related to all kinds of football down there in Mobile. We're going to have a lot of fun with Michael. Before we bring Michael in, we're going to encourage you guys, of course, to download and subscribe to other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcasts. We've got our friends All Things Bama with Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon, and we've got Blue Collar Unplugged with Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Jacob Pickle, the president of Crimson Chaos, Mr. Jacob Pickle, joining them on Blue Collar Unplugged, talking about all things Alabama basketball related. All right, yesterday on the show, we had a lot of fun talking about a little bit of Tua Tagovailoa. We talked some recruiting. We had a serious topic on Darius Miles. If you missed any of that, you can hit it on all of the platforms we just mentioned. And we're going to kind of continue some of those conversations. We had 10 days away from Alabama kicking off in Bryant-Denny Stadium. We are, 4 days away, 3 days away from Notre Dame and week number 1 getting all underway. So let's bring in my friend Michael Brauner. Michael, what's going on? You can listen to him and read him at WNSP down there in Mobile, 105.5. How's your morning going, Michael? How's the switch to the morning shift for you?
Yeah, so I did just switch from afternoons to morning, so been on that for about a week and a half now. It's been quite the schedule adjustment for me, kind of changed around my whole life, getting up at 5 a.m. right around these days. So it's definitely different, but, now I can hop on at 1 o'clock with, Joe Gaither whenever I want. So that's a plus.
There we go. Well, we're 10 days away from the season. 3 or 4 days away from week number 1. What's been the flavor in Mobile? Well, first off, tell everybody you're writing more now for WNSP as well. Obviously, you can hear them in the mornings on WNSP, and you used to hear them on the final drive in the afternoons. So you switched to the morning shift, and you've taken on a little bit of a writing role. Tell everybody, as we get into it, what you're doing on the WNSP website, where they can read you, and kind of what's the flavor down there in Mobile lately.
Correct. So I am producing the morning show now with Mark Heim and Lee Shervanian. So that's a show that's been going for a lot longer than I've been here. So, so that's kind of an established brand down here. And as for the website, we're doing a lot of exciting things, kind of trying to put out a daily column that's different every day. Monday I'm doing something called Tide Takes is what we've been calling it. Tuesday, the Auburn Corner. Wednesday, Across the South, more of a general SEC thing. Thursdays, Inside the Dome. Kind of a Saints NFL type article, and then Fridays, a little bit undecided on exactly what we're going to be doing on Fridays. I think we're going to be having staff picks from, Mark, Lee, Corey, Nick, all your favorite WNSP personalities. So exciting stuff there. Definitely been able to get online content out earlier. Definitely been able to put out some more long form stuff, some more opinionated pieces, stuff like that. So it's been good. I've been enjoying what we've been able to put out on the web. It's been cool stuff. I'm kind of able to manage the website a little bit better, get content out earlier, and, truly some better content on the website. So check it out on WNSP.com if you do get a chance. I think there's some good stuff up there.
There you go, WNSP.com. Go there after you visit us at BamaCentral.com. We're the Sports Illustrated home for Alabama Crimson Tide. We're going to have a busy day today on BamaCentral.com, not until later in the afternoon. One thing I want to follow up from yesterday, we talked recruiting real quick. We highlighted the Edric Hill commitment. Unfortunately, he did choose Ohio State. That was kind of our feeling yesterday. And yesterday we talked about recruiting and said Daniel Hill, the running back from Meridian, Mississippi, would be committing today. That has been postponed. So anybody who's wanting to hear about Daniel Hill, he has postponed his commitment to an undisclosed date, choosing between South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Alabama. So we'll keep an eye on Daniel Hill right there on BamaCentral.com. What's happening today at 6 p.m., the man, the myth, the legend, Nick Saban will be in front of the podium. So you'll be able to follow Katie Wyndham, Austin Hannon, and myself. We'll be paying attention to all things Nick Saban. And I'm sure he's going to say a whole bunch of nothing after the second scrimmage. Everybody's progressing well. The message from Coach Nick Saban all through camp has been mental focus, sustaining mental focus throughout practice, and eliminating mental mistakes. Michael Brauner, all signs point to Jalen Milroe winning the starting quarterback job, at least in the moment, at least on the outset. He led the ones in both the scrimmages, and so we're playing MTSU next week in 10 days. What's your feel with Jalen Milroe being the guy, at least for the moment?
Well, it's funny you say all signs point to, because it's really more so the lack of signs at all point to the fact that Jalen Milroe is going to be the starting quarterback for this team. We knew if it wasn't going to be Milroe, one of Simpson or Buckner was going to have to separate, or Lonergan, depending on the day, because his name has kind of been thrown around in the last week. Not that anyone really thought he was going to be the starter, but maybe the backup, who knows. But yeah, it's really kind of been a summer of unanswered questions, and that has continued up until 10 days until the season. So that doesn't exactly spark a ton of confidence about the quarterback position. I think it's way more so than, I should hope Milroe has gotten a little bit better as a passer. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to fend off Ty Simpson and Tyler Buckner. That being said, I think it's probably more so, I don't want to say it was Ty Simpson's job to lose, and not that the game is played on paper, but on paper, Ty Simpson should be the best quarterback on this team. He should have been able to take this job and separate over the summer, and clearly 10 days out from the season, he wasn't. So, what does that tell you? He wasn't good enough, and Milroe's the guy with experience. So at least for the time being, he's probably going to be the quarterback, barring some seismic change in the next week and a half, which was not impossible. But I think those who are hoping to see Ty Simpson trot out and take the first snaps against Middle Tennessee, which I'd include myself in that group, probably are going to be disappointed. All three guys are going to play against MTSU. That's just a reality of that game. Whereas, your counterparts in Auburn actually named a starting quarterback 3 days ago in Peyton Thorne, which we knew was going to happen after he transfers from Michigan State in May. It's different. Like, you bring in Peyton Thorne at Auburn to be the starter, whereas you bring in Tyler Buckner because, well, maybe more of an insurance policy type of situation because the guys in the room aren't getting it done. So two wildly different situations there. But, yeah, in my mind, Ty Simpson could have been the guy, should have been the guy, had every chance over the summer to be the guy, and didn't do enough to get it done. So, we've heard good things about him. We had David Morris from QB Country on the show about last week and, asked him about Ty Simpson this summer. He said Ty Simpson was phenomenal this summer. He looks great. He said he's still of the belief that whether he starts the season or not, he still thinks Ty Simpson is going to start a lot of games for Alabama this year. And I kind of believe that too. I don't think, again, like I said, I don't think Milroe is starting for this team because he's the best quarterback on the roster. I think he's starting, at least to start the season, because he's the most experienced quarterback on the roster. Now, does that come back and bite you week 2 against Texas? It might. It's defense is certainly going to have to show up and, I don't know, hold Texas below 30, certainly. Texas was able to get after Alabama in last year's matchup, get after the quarterback, I think, a lot more so than we thought they were. And, Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt. You hate to – as Bama fans, we can pull the ifs out, after Jameson Williams against Georgia. But, the reality is that works both ways. If Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt, Alabama would have lost that game against Texas. It's undeniable. So we'll see what happens. I hope they're able to figure it out, but I'm thinking Milroe is going to start against MTSU. He's going to be good because it's against MTSU. He'll be fine. Guys are going to be open. He's going to do what he's supposed to do. Simpson will come in. He'll look good. Buckner will come in and clean up duty, and he'll look good too. Bama will win by 45 because, they're not – we've had this right before about, playing a cupcake game week 1. I don't know how much that does. We saw how much it helped playing Utah State to open up to get – they were really prepared to play Texas clearly last season. And so we'll see, man. I do ultimately think that Ty Simpson will take over this job, but that's not necessarily a good thing. It means that Milroe is not getting it done, and probably you've lost the game or come close to losing a game because of it. So we'll see.
Well, let me throw a theory at you, the crimson-colored glasses theory that I've been hearing over the last handful of days. Nick Saban and Kevin Steele are throwing the kitchen sink at these quarterbacks in practice, blah, 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 blah. And that's why you're not getting separation, because the defense looks so good, and Nick Saban's throwing a bunch of blitz packages at them, and, you're shuffling around the offensive line, so you're not getting any continuity up front. Everybody's under pressure, and that's why the quarterbacks look mad. Huh?
Yeah, that certainly is a crimson-colored glasses theory. I mean, it's funny because last year, we were talking about, at least I was, could this be Nick Saban's best ever defense? At least on paper. Again,
Sure.
We use that term a lot, on paper, going into the season. Talent-wise, it was certainly right up there with the best of them. And, how did Alabama lose the games they lost this season? Well, the defense flopped in the biggest moments. It was the Tennessee game was what the Tennessee game was. It was a complete mess on defense. Jalen Hyatt is still running free. And then in the fourth, it wasn't as bad against LSU, but ultimately in the fourth quarter, you had a lead and you couldn't get a stop. So,
right.
I think the defense is going to be better. I think there's a lot of depth at interior linebacker. I think Terrion Arnold finally takes a step up this year, opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think it'll help Terrion Arnold not having Eli Ricks kind of breathing down his neck. That was an interesting little storyline. And so I think that'll allow him to, at least play a little bit more freely, knowing that he's entrenched as a starter. And we'll see what happens with Caleb Downs too. But I don't think that the quarterbacks haven't separated themselves because, Kevin Steele and the defense have been so great in practice. I think that's a bit of a fool's gold theory there. And the offensive line, we should hope it's going to be better. You don't have Bryce Young there to bail you out. So.
Well, what I've heard really is that Ty Simpson still has the best arm talent, but he struggled playing the ones, and really he's faced the ones the entire camp. And you've heard Jalen Milroe, he's got the ones and he's facing the twos, and he's doing just fine. He's not doing amazing, he's doing just fine. And then you hear, Buckner over the last week and change has started to pick up the offense a little bit more. Obviously, he had nice numbers in the scrimmage this past Saturday. And then you get this kid, Dylan Monaghan, who every time you throw him out there, it seems like every time you give him a little piece of the pizza, a little piece of the pie, he's gobbling it up and asking for more. But really, coach is kind of like, we don't want to overload him with the whole playbook and overload him with all the concepts quite yet. So it's just it's still interesting under center. It's still interesting under center. And you talk about the MTSU game. I wonder if we're going to see all four quarterbacks at least a little bit. Obviously, you can still redshirt Lonergan after you play him in 4 games. He has a 4-game allotment, so you can throw him out there against MTSU in that first week in the last couple series if you wanted to. Just how important is finding who the quarterback is. Like once you're playing Texas that second week, are we still rotating guys in and out? Like, Milroe first crack, here's your 2 series, go see how you do. Here's your 2 series, Ty Simpson, here's your 1 series, Buckner. What's going to be, because I've been contending over the last couple of weeks that really it doesn't matter who the quarterback is through the first 3 weeks. You're playing MTSU, that's going to be an automatic win. You just hit on all of the other points. You're playing Texas, obviously high-profile matchup, massive high-profile matchup, and you want to win. You don't want to punt in on any game. But on the scheme of what Alabama's trying to do, win the SEC, get to the college football playoff, win another national title, losing to Texas doesn't really matter. Then you play at USF. USF not going to present that much of a challenge on paper. We've talked on paper a ton. The big question is September 23rd when Ole Miss is coming to town. You've got to have everybody on the same page. Ole Miss comes to town. Then you go out to A&M and the SEC season starts. So how urgent do you think Coach Saban really feels on, I've got to have my guy by the Texas game? I've got to have – because the Texas game is more of a fan – pride. And, of course, Texas is coming into the conference here soon, next year even. But, it's more of, we want to say we beat Texas. Like, if you win or lose that game, in the grand scheme of things, everything's still out in front of you.
I get your point. I think you're underrating the importance of it a little bit. I mean, it's still, what is Texas, 11? So I was about to say top 10 matchup, but I guess not quite a top 10 matchup, right?
It will be. They'll bounce people around.
Top 10 match. ESPN's going to make it happen that it's a top 10 matchup. So we'll call it a top 10 matchup. But no, I mean, I think you're underrating the importance a little bit. Look at LSU last season. I mean, that loss against Florida State week 1 for a team that was trying to make the playoff at the end of the year. Obviously, you lose the embarrassing game at Texas A&M. Which ultimately ends your hope. I mean, they might have still, honestly, they maybe still make it if they are able to defeat Georgia in the SEC championship. But that being said, it's like, you don't want to rack up a loss early in the season. Yes, it doesn't affect you in the SEC West. Now, I'm of the opinion that it should, but that's an entirely different discussion. But no, I mean, for a team that is going to maybe be on the playoff bubble, I don't think anyone thinks this team is a sure thing to make the playoff, like a 12-0 Georgia that's going to steamroll their way into the SEC championship, playing Ball State and UT Martin in those first 2 weeks. You don't want to take that loss week 2, but you are right. It doesn't bury you. It's not like losing an SEC game. It's not going to kill you, but you still don't want to take a loss week 2. I think it's more than just a fan rivalry. I think one is a quality win. If you lose a game down the road, that speaks to your resume as well. Unless Texas just goes off the rails later in the season, which wouldn't be the most shocking thing. It's happened before. But yeah, no, I think I would go so far as to say that getting this quarterback situation, I wrote this last week, getting this decision correct for Nick Saban is the most important decision he's faced in his time in Alabama. If you get it wrong, this team's not going to be very good. If you get it right, this team, it's not the best Alabama team ever, but they can win a national championship if they get steady and efficient quarterback play. The running game is good enough. The receiver room is going to be good enough. The defense is going to be good enough. But if you have a quarterback who's turning it over and can't move the ball, this team's going to lose 4 games. I mean, that's just – and it's going to be embarrassing. And the noise around, the dynasty being over, may be right at that point. So you can't get this quarterback decision horribly wrong. I guess if it's horribly wrong, you're going to change guys. But, how long do you want to take half your season to get this thing right? Before some of these hard games, before you host LSU, even Ole Miss week 4 is not going to be an easy game coming to town. I just you got to get this thing right. And it is going to be Milroe. So I hope he's ready to go because ideally you don't want to have to switch quarterbacks. But yeah, Lonergan, I'd like to see him get some time in that MTSU game. It's funny because he was kind of the afterthought, if you remember, in recruiting, because obviously bringing Eli Holstein before Lonergan. And Holstein was a more highly touted recruit. I guess Holstein just hasn't shown as much as Lonergan has shown this offseason.
Yeah, the mental game seems to be not saying he's dumb, not by any means, but I just hear that Dylan Lonergan has got that gamer mentality. He's got that it factor where he's got a good feel in the pocket and knows how to get rid of the ball pretty quickly. And that's going to be the thing is getting rid of the ball quickly, making good decisions quickly, because you look at the wide receivers, okay, you've heard drops, X, Y, you've heard the drops are still an issue, but you look at the skill set, the talent about the running backs in the tight end room, at the wide receiver, all you got to do is get the ball in these guys' hands 2 yards down the field and let them go ahead and get them another 2, 3, 4, 80 yards, whatever the case may be. Give them chances to make plays down the field. You can't, I don't want to see patting the football, like to make quick decisions, be confident. And it seems like that's been the main issue with, Coach Saban. I want to see who's going to say, make me play you. Don't look over your shoulder asking about, am I making the right reads? Grab the bull by the horns. I think the ability is there with Jalen Milroe and Simpson, and the ability probably there with Buckner just kind of way mentally behind. I think the ability is there. It's just a lack of confidence with those guys. And so will a cupcake game against MTSU give you enough confidence to say, oh my gosh, Texas is coming, and, we're going to be under the lights a second? Obviously it helps you'll be in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Your first road game is not till you're going to USF, and that should be fine. But I'm looking at that Ole Miss game, Quinshon Judkins, Jackson Dart coming at you, and Lane Kiffin going all for it every fourth down. Get your popcorn ready. I think you need to be ready to put up to really hang with them. And Texas.
It's also a team, frankly, that we can say this about a lot of games last year, and that it was on the road versus at home. But without Bryce Young lose to Ole Miss last year again. So it's far from the only game you can say that. You can say that about the Texas game. I mean, you can say you would have lost by 30 to Tennessee without Bryce Young. So,
oh gosh,
man, imagine if Jalen Milroe had started that game against Tennessee last year. It would have been 45-10.
The biggest issue with me is how much, and we can speak on this, and this might be a perfect transition here. How much was Bill O'Brien? I mean, everything you heard about the A&M matchup was, oh my gosh, we're going to play Bryce Young. He's going to play. We're game planning for Bryce Young, and then you get out to Saturday, and Bryce isn't going to play. So Jalen Milroe gets thrown into the Bryce Young game plan. How much does Tommy Rees tailoring a Jalen Milroe game plan change what he's able to do to defenses?
Well, it would certainly help if you knew for sure that Jalen Milroe was going to be the starting quarterback, wouldn't it? And honestly, he very well might. It could be a situation where Nick Saban and Tommy Rees have privately said behind closed doors, all right, it is what it is. Jalen Milroe is our starting quarterback. Let's start game planning around him, which, certainly works to Jalen Milroe's advantage. Honestly, I would go so far as to say it's probably likely that is the case. Nick Saban's not 10 days before the season sitting here still no idea who the start would say, maybe today's the practice where someone separated. It's like that just can't be the you'd be foolish to think that's the situation. So, yeah, they probably are game planning more around Milroe or maybe Simpson, whoever the guy is going to be. I assume we both assume Milroe at this point. So, yeah, I mean, you would hope that that's going to be an advantage to Jalen Milroe. You would hope that, a full start against a cupcake team will give him some confidence. We know he struggled with that against Texas A&M, playing with anxiety, whatever the prevailing theme was. That was for the entire team on the road. They struggled with that last season for whatever reason. You want to get rid of that early as you can. I think it'll work to their benefit, the fact that all of those tough games are at home. Not that they don't have tough games on the road, namely the Iron Bowl, but also
at A&M,
at Mississippi State. I mean, these are not cupcake games at this point, especially for a team that doesn't know who's playing quarterback. So I don't know. I mean, I would think that tailoring a game plan to answer the original question around Jalen Milroe would help him, but because he was thrown into the fire last year against A&M, and make no mistake, he was bad. He was bad against Texas A&M.
He threw 3 touchdowns.
I mean, he threw terrible picks, and that game came down to the wire because Jalen Milroe turned the ball over. I mean, we can say that.
Turnover crushed you.
I mean, we can certainly say that. I'm not afraid to bury Jalen Milroe for the A&M game. In the same breath, yes, while in the second half of the Arkansas game, ultimately his legs got it done. Ultimately, Arkansas came back because Bama couldn't throw the ball in the second half of that game. I mean, the passing game was almost entirely neutralized. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that he's going to be a little bit better with just in general, he's got to be better. But hopefully with an offense built around him, quote unquote, whatever that exactly means, he'll shine, I guess.
All right, let's transition because I just brought up your boy Bill O'Brien and my man Wendell Harris hitting on Mac Jones. So yesterday on the program, I started off the topic, and I'm gonna kind of close that loop and open up a second topic so you can react to it. Yesterday we opened up talking about Ryan Clark's comments on Tua Tagovailoa. Did you hear him on NFL Live?
I did.
Okay,
it's interesting.
Yeah, so for those who didn't hear him, I'm going to play him again because today Tua Tagovailoa responded to Ryan Clark. He had a short little response. Yesterday, Ryan Clark basically insinuated that Tua Tagovailoa is fat and didn't work out. And I went from the Tua Tagovailoa conversation to what's going to happen in the AFC East. Well, Michael Brauner is going to give me some corrections on what will happen in the AFC East. But let's close the Tua loop here. Ryan Clark really making kind of a turd of himself, calling Tua Tagovailoa fat.
5 for 7, 61 yards, and an interception. So rocky start to the game for Tua right there.
Tua wouldn't have got them tats.
Yeah, he did.
Tua said,
full sleeve.
Y'all think because I've been hurt, I ain't tough.
I'm gonna tell you what he wasn't doing. He wasn't in the gym. I bet you that.
Come on,
he wasn't with me. He might have spent a lot of time at the tattoo parlor. He was not at the dinner table eating what the nutritionist had advised.
Oh my God.
He looked happy.
Okay.
He is thick.
He's thick.
Little thick.
He's built like a girl work at Onyx in Atlanta right now on the bottom.
Come on now.
Get to the show.
Am I allowed to ask you?
Yeah, so Ryan Clark taking a pot shot at Tua Tagovailoa for the extra weight that he's put on, and today Tua says, "Keep my name out your mouth."
I mean, I think we all worked hard throughout the offseason. And I'm not someone to talk about myself the entire time, but I mean, it takes a lot. You think I wanted to build all this muscle? Like, nah. To some extent, like I wanted to, I wanted to be a little lighter. There's a mixture of things that people don't understand, that people don't know about, that are talked about, that go behind the scenes. So, I'd appreciate if you kept my name out your mouth. That's what I'd say.
All right, so we'll react to that, and then we'll get into whatever I said about the AFC East. Tua saying, "Keep my name out your mouth." Ryan Clark, I kind of chalked it up yesterday, Michael, to Ryan Clark's trying to take the Kendrick Perkins role of the NFL Live crew, where he's just going to throw stuff on the wall and see what happens, and I don't care what the reaction is. One, react to Ryan Clark, and two, Tua's season going forward. I'm expecting a positive season where we got the judo down. We're not going to get hurt, I guess. We've added extra weight. What's your take on the whole situation in Tua's upcoming year?
Yeah, as for Ryan Clark, I can't say I consume a ton of ESPN content these days. He's trying to make it. I didn't even take it that seriously. Like I took it as he's trying to make the guys at the desk laugh. I didn't think it was like this serious pot shot that like Tua needed to respond to. And I understand Tua got asked about it directly. It's not like he addressed it. I want to start off by addressing these Ryan Clark comments. I'm sure a member of the media asked him directly about it, and he answered. But at the same time, Tua could just say like, he's messing around. But Tua seemed genuinely offended. It was unnecessary, I guess, from Clark. I didn't think it was a huge deal, though.
Yeah, but come on, Ryan, you played in the league. To act like somebody's just not going to take their offseason seriously, especially given what this season really means for Tua's whole career. Like, come on, that's a lame.
It was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. Fair enough.
Well, yesterday I couldn't decide. What's going to happen in the AFC East because I was trying to, try to transition that into some sort of a prediction, and I do think that Tua is going to have a good year. You know how I feel about Mac Jones, but there's just no help around around the offensive side of the football with the Patriots. You obviously know what the Jets have done, and the Bills are probably the prohibitive favorite, coming off two division championships in a row. I said basically to put it all out there that the Patriots will end up last in the division. Will I be wrong? Will Mac have a good year? Will he silence all the doubters? Is Bill O'Brien going to, you've seen the quote, get Alabama Mac back?
Well, it's certainly a common prevailing thought from a lot of people that the Patriots are going to finish last in the division. And, I understand why that is. I certainly have, as you know, a good bit of bias when I say they're not. I don't know. The AFC East is hard to figure out. I think it's the best division in football, maybe second best. I think the AFC North is very strong as well. But I also think it's going to be the slimmest range from top to bottom. I think the winner is going to be at around 11 wins, and I think the last place team is going to be around 7 wins. So, you could really make a case for all 4 of these teams winning the division. I think Miami, frankly, is a little bit overrated. They don't finish seasons well, even with Tua healthy. I don't think they're going to contend to win the division. They might contend for a playoff spot, and I don't necessarily think that Tua is going to stay healthy all season. And of course, I'm not rooting for injury or anything like that. It's just kind of reality. So we'll see. You are right that they haven't done a lot to help Mac out. And I know you were talking about Kayshon Boutte yesterday. I'll tell you what. We got 2 6th-round receivers that have had really good camps. And I'm not sitting here saying, we should be banking on 2 6th-round receivers, but Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas, like the bad luck the Patriots have had drafting receivers. And part of that is just because Bill Belichick has been foolish, taking N'Keal Harry over the likes of A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, and Terry McLaurin, taking Tyquan Thornton over George Pickens last year. You ever heard of a guy named Chad Jackson? Took him in the 2nd round in 2006. He's actually from Hoover High School. Exactly. You haven't heard of him. It kind of speaks to my point. They haven't drafted receivers well. They deserve a little bit of luck from the receiver gods, from the draft gods. These 2 6th-round picks, if one of them can contribute to this team. Demario Douglas, by the way, has played 5 snaps across 2 preseason games. He's already locked in to making this roster. He's kind of a slot shifty guy out of Liberty. So, Hugh Freeze taught. Apparently, Hugh Freeze develops wide receivers better than anyone. We know that.
Should I be looking to go get that guy, Demario Douglas, in my late round? Gonna hang around, get him?
I took him in the last round of my draft, so I think he's worth a stash. I think he might catch a bunch of passes this year. We'll see what happens. Again, they're not putting any film out there on him, so Demario Douglas is available. Someone just brought up Zeke in the comments there. I don't know. I think Zeke doesn't move the needle a whole heck of a lot. I do think, as great as I think Ramondre Stevenson is, and he is great, he's one of the 5 to 10 best running backs in the league. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, one of the best pure runners in football. His goal line conversion rate is not very good. He was kind of the entire offense last year. He had 60 catches for a guy who's not a receiving back. So I think Zeke helps in 3rd down situations and on the goal line. Another reason I drafted him in fantasy, because he'll probably score a lot of touchdowns this season. Other than that, it's kind of whatever. You trade out Damian Harris for Zeke, it's kind of a net no gain there, because Damian Harris now with the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, I think you can make the case for the Patriots to finish last in the AFC East. At the same time, they do have one of the best defenses in football that you add Christian Gonzalez to. Jack Jones had some legal troubles in the offseason, but they're cleared up now. I think they have one of the best secondaries in football. It's going to depend. I think the reports out of camp this year, and because I'll read them every day, every because I'm just that kind of guy. I'm going to read the training camp report every single day. The reporter I trust, Evan Lazar, have been dramatically more optimistic than last season. It was doom and gloom from day one. This offense is a mess. This is a circus. Matt Patricia has no idea what he's doing, and guess what? That's exactly what it was during the regular season. This year, it's been a lot more organized. People seem to know what they're doing. They're running a lot more motion, a lot more RPOs for Mac. Looked pretty good in the preseason game against the Packers in the 3 drives he played. They brought in Zappi after the fact. And, I am hopeful for the Bill O'Brien offense. Obviously, Alabama fans, and myself included, had our gripes with Bill O'Brien. But, it's Matt Patricia to Bill O'Brien. I'm going to take it for the Patriots any day of the week. And I do think Bill O'Brien is more suited for the NFL than college, 100%.
Well, we'll have to see. Maybe it's just my Aaron Rodgers bias. I've got a sneaky feeling the Jets are not going to be as good as people say.
Please, I need the Jets to flop this year, like I need air to breathe.
The bad offensive line and this nice guy Aaron Rodgers. It's going to week 3. I don't know how wide my camera is going to be, but week 3 you're still going to go back and see the.
Let me ask you that. Have you been watching Hard Knocks? Because I watched the episode and I can't watch anymore.
I don't care one bit about watching a 60-minute Aaron Rodgers. How's the nicest way to say it?
We get the term.
Yeah, an Aaron Rodgers propaganda machine. That's probably the nicest way to say it. But basically, they're trying to rehab his image over 4 or 5 weeks, 60 minutes. Aaron Rodgers, such a good teammate, such a good guy.
I say this with the fact that the Jets are my least favorite team in the NFL. So take what I say about the Jets with a little bit of a grain of salt. To be fair, I have a bias against the Jets. I will admit that. But that being said, it's the bad offensive line. And I honestly, and I know you're a Bears fan, so you hated Aaron Rodgers for years. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers. At least I haven't hated Aaron Rodgers. I think I kind of have liked Aaron Rodgers. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And granted, he was, I won't say terrible last year, but certainly a shell of what he once was. I think he certainly takes a step back this year. I don't think he's going to be that MVP guy anymore. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers has gone from a likable guy to me to, my now public enemy number 1. And I can't watch the Hard Knocks thing, man. I did it for one episode because Corey and I were going to talk about it on the show the next day. So it was my homework for the night. But since then, it's all right, I'm done with this. I'm not watching it. I don't like Robert Saleh either. God, that team is just insufferable. The Jets fans, it's and again, I'm from New Jersey, so it's a sleep. It's kind of like Vols fans. It's like a sleeping giant of the NFL can't handle the Jets being good. The menace that will come out if the Jets fans are good. It's
all you gotta do is turn on Get Up and you can see it. The green is insufferable.
Yeah, it's ready for.
Mike Greenberg, one of the most professional broadcasters. He's insufferable right now. And, like, I cannot watch Get Up. I know you hit on ESPN earlier, but, like, I cannot watch Get Up. And the whole recent quotes from Randall Cobb to the receivers, hey, guys, I know Aaron's being nice right now, but we got to get this right or he's going to lose his bleep on us. And Aaron Rodgers coming out, I don't think I'm the snapping type anymore. Dude, you are full of You're full of it.
He gained some clarity in his darkness retreat this offseason. Man, it's like if you check, Jets, Patriots, Twitter, we're all on Twitter too much, or, turn on the TV, you would think the Jets are already in the Super Bowl. Keep in mind, the Patriots have beaten the Jets 14 times in a row. We've not lost to this team in 7 years. You would think we've already been swept by this team. You would think the Jets have beaten by because we play week 3. You would think, or maybe it's week 4. I can't remember off the top of my head. You would think that the Jets already, have already taken over the AFC East. It really is just insufferable stuff. I am excited for the season, but nervous that if the Jets are in fact good, it's going to be a long year. But I'm still hopeful that we can hold on to this and keep them in their place.
What quarterback? Last thing on this. What quarterback says, "Well, I talked to Robert. And I think he was nervous about asking me to play this weekend, but I was kind of wanting to play this weekend, so the conversation worked out." What the heck? Like
Russell,
whose team is it?
It's like Russell Wilson, but like a better quarterback. So you kind of excuse it. And Russell Wilson with MVPs, pretty much.
Oh, he drives me absolutely up the wall. All right, let me transition back to Alabama real quick. We're gonna respond real quick to my man CJ Watson's comment. CJ, on the earlier conversation, Jalen Milroe was pretty bad in that A&M game. However, it wasn't close to a well-called game. Bill O'Brien. The Arkansas game when Milroe came in was called to his skill sets. He looked good. The A&M game was called to Bryce's strength because they practiced with Bryce all week. Milroe wasn't set up for success in that game. He played poorly, though. I won't argue that. I don't even know that the Arkansas game was called to Jalen Milroe's skill set. We had a 14-0 lead at that point, and obviously Alabama was able to extend that, and you kind of had that tight moment where Arkansas came back and then Jalen Milroe breaks the 70-yard scramble. And really, that's what you can't prepare for. The defensive coordinators, that's what you can't prepare. You want to go man coverage against this defense and let us send everybody deep and turn your back on Jalen Milroe. I like Jalen Milroe's skill sets against basically any spy in this league except for Harold Perkins, probably. Harold Perkins, the LSU linebacker. But the issue is, you remember that 70-yard run at Arkansas. What did Bill O'Brien do the next play? The very next play, 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Throwing the daggone ball into and it almost ended up in a Milroe interception. And I love you, Jalen. Thanks for your skill sets, and I want the best for you. But dang, that was so bad and so ugly. You're gonna have to hammer the daggone ball. You just ran the defense 70 yards down the field. They're exhausted. Let's just get the heavy package. One thing I missed over the last year was black personnel. For those who don't understand, that's the 3 tight ends, bringing in the defensive linemen and playing under center, just hammer it in. Black personnel. I hope that's the biggest difference. Is Tommy Rees kind of has a better feel for when to just hammer the daggum ball.
I think that Arkansas game, because of the fact that Milroe not necessarily iced it, but close to iced it with that 70-yard run, I think his performance gets misremembered a little bit in that game, frankly. He wasn't very good. So they were up 14 when Bryce got hurt, and they did stretch it, I believe, to 28-0, if I'm remembering correctly. And then what happened? Arkansas scored 23 straight points, in large part due to the fact because Alabama could not throw the ball. They could not move the ball. And again, Bill O'Brien, the 70-yard run, that's not Bill O'Brien. That's just letting Jalen Milroe do what Jalen Milroe, is able to do. And, it works out. And then Jahmyr Gibbs rips a long touchdown late as well and is able to ice the game. And, we remember the Arkansas game as a Jalen Milroe great performance because, a signature play in the game was Jalen Milroe breaking free and showing what he does best and, being able to put the game away with that. But Jalen Milroe did not throw the ball well in that Arkansas game, pretty dreadfully, in fact. And that's a large part of the reason why that game was even remotely close. Alabama was up 28-0 in that game. That game should have never been remotely close. And it was because Jalen Milroe was ineffective throwing. And again, I'm not going to blame him. I mean, he got thrown into the game in the middle of the game, and I frankly don't think he's very good as a passer to begin with. So I'm not gonna cast stones on him for it. But that being said, I do think it gets misremembered. Oh, he was good against Arkansas and not good against Texas A&M. I don't think he was really good in either. At least as a passer, I don't think he was good in either game. I don't think he's really shown much of anything as a passer. That's why I'm so worried here. Oh boy, Jalen Milroe is the starting quarterback for this team. What has Ty Simpson not shown this offseason?
He's turned the ball over. That's the main thing. Jalen has not turned the ball over. Where Milroe's turned, or where Simpson's turned the ball over in practice, and that's the one thing that makes Nick Saban contemplate suicide. It's like
Jalen's throwing some atrocious picks, and remember that you see the tweet that it was Austin Hannon, actually, BamaCentral. He posted a little compilation clip like a week or two ago of some this is why the quarterback competition is still a competition, because throws like this from Jalen Milroe. He's thrown some atrocious short on picks. The A&M game, the Utah State game when he came in as well, threw a terrible one in that one. I mean, it's concerning. And it's not like he doesn't have an arm. He certainly does, but I don't know.
All right, let's transition. One more topic for the day. We're talking to Michael Brauner of WNSP. You can hear him in the mornings on 105.5 down there in Mobile. You can read him at WNSP.com. Download, the Sound of Mobile app to listen to all their great programming. My man, Austin Hannon, speaking of the devil, he wrote a recent piece, and Alabama football put out a recent video package highlighting the relationship and highlighting the grind, kind of the story of Jason McClellan and Roydell Williams. Really, all this talk about the quarterback is relevant, absolutely relevant, but I'm kind of the opinion that Tommy Rees changes everything. Tommy Rees changes the entire formula where, okay, we're going to lean on Roydell Williams. We're going to lean on Jace McClellan. We're going to give Justice Haynes the football and I guess a little bit of Jam Miller as well. You're going to get into a more physical football team. What's your confidence level in these running backs? You look at the all SEC team that got put out yesterday by the coaches, and Jace McClellan ends up being second team running back or so? Yes, second team running back, but really he's the only running back listed. You got Quinshon Judkins and Raheem Sanders from Arkansas. You got Kendall Milton from Georgia on that list, and then Trevor Etienne and Jarquez Hunter from Auburn, kind of all in the first, second, and third teams. Where's Alabama going to stack up with the running back room? And can we really get back to, I've been saying the Alabama Anaconda will return, where it's the slow choking out of the other team. Okay, maybe the first quarter is 10-0, 7-0. Maybe the second quarter at the end of halftime, it's 17-10, it's 17-7. But by the time you look up in the fourth quarter, it's 38-17, it's 42-24. And the Anaconda, the defense and the running game has choked out every little bit of hope from the other side. So to do that, we need a good defense, and I think the defense will be improved. But specifically, you need to be able to run the football, something that Alabama, unfortunately, under Bill O'Brien, really, since Mac Jones in 2020, has not been able to say, hey, I'm going to hand off to a running back and I'm getting 4 yards. Get out of the bleeping way. I'm getting 4 yards, period. And maybe if I break a tackle, I'm getting 40 yards. Where's your confidence level in the Alabama running game?
See, and here I was thinking the final transition was going to be to Alabama hoops or something like that. We didn't get to mix in any hoops today.
We can if you want. I just don't have anything relevant yet.
I thought we were going to make fun of Auburn for losing out on Flory Badinga after they were taking.
No, we're going to wait until LeBaron Philon commits to Alabama, and then I'm going to.
We'll take our own victory lap.
Oh, I'm going to. No.
That is going to happen, by the way. All that being said, to answer your question, yeah, my confidence in the running back room is very high. I don't think there's a Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think there's Derrick Henry. I don't think there's a Mark Ingram. But I think there's 5 really good running backs in this room. I think Jason McClellan, I don't think he's gotten the kind of shine that he's necessarily deserved. Look at the Ole Miss game last year when Jahmyr Gibbs goes down with an ankle injury in the second half, which we weren't even sure if he was hurt or if he was benched. As it turned out, it was an ankle injury. But Alabama rode Jason McClellan in that second half, tough running through the tackles. And it was a large part in reason due to why they won that game. And McClellan will be the lead back for this team. But, you got a lot of different types of guys. I'm mean, as much as I like Roydell Williams and was hopeful, I think he's far from the most talented guy in this room. I think he's solid and dependable, and he plays a little bit of special teams as well. But I do like Jalen Milroe a lot. Obviously, Justice Haynes is really good as well. And you can mix in, maybe Richard Young mixes in on the field as well. Who knows? But yeah, I think there's 5 guys that you feel good giving the ball to. I think there's never a reason to have a tired guy on the field. You're always going to have fresh legs. For a team that's hoping to run the ball a lot this season, which it seems like Alabama is, seems like Alabama's going to have to based on the entire quarterback discussion that we've had. And by the way, if Jalen Milroe is ultimately the quarterback, which it seems like he will be, that threat of Milroe running should, in theory, open up some things for these running backs as well. So yeah, I do feel really good about the running back room. I think, it's going to be a steady rotation. I don't think necessarily there's going to be a 1,000-yard guy, barring McClellan kind of being that bell cow, which, I think he's talented enough, but I also think there's 4 other guys who are really talented. Like Jalen Milroe is too good to keep off the field. Justice Haynes is too good to keep off the field. So as good as I think Jason McClellan is, and as much as I love Jason McClellan, if Jason McClellan has 1,200 yards this year, it makes me wonder, what went on with the rest of the room? Why couldn't the rest of these guys get on the field? So I do feel very good about it. I think they're going to run the ball. Heck, maybe they have 2,000-yard rushers. Maybe one of them is Jalen Milroe. Who knows? That's another thing that's like, if Milroe is the guy, you would think that he's also a large part of the running game as well. So maybe, you can't keep them all on the field. There's only one ball. So, it'll be interesting to see who ultimately separates themselves as the guy. I think McClellan starts the season as the guy. We'll see what Jalen Milroe does when he gets on the field. We'll see what Justice Haynes does when he gets on the field. Obviously, there's a lot to be excited about there.
Yeah, so with all this being said, and we're right here at 45 minutes, I appreciate everybody who's been watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Thank you to Michael Brauner joining us. Because of you, Michael, our view counts have been going as high as they've ever been. I appreciate you very much for joining us and chiming in on the Facebook machine. Wendell Hare, CJ Watson, and others. We appreciate everybody joining us. You can find us at Joe Gaither 6 on all the social media machines. We kind of texted back and forth about doing win totals, and we didn't really do that, but I will hit the Alabama win total. You've got BetMGM and FanDuel and DraftKings all at 10.5 wins for Alabama. And we've kind of talked around the Texas game. We've talked about going out to A&M. You're going over to Auburn. I'm sure that Hugh Freeze is going to probably throw everything and his mother at Nick Saban down there on the plains. Do you think Alabama's going to get back to the playoff? Because that's really what it's all about. I mean, who cares about the win total over and under 10.5? I mean, you can answer that if you want to. But the bottom line is, does Alabama get back to the Bama standard, get to the playoff? I don't know about winning it all, and that's fine if they don't. But I think it's absolutely important to win the West, go play Georgia in the SEC championship, play them well, not get blown out, play them well, and find a way to get into the college football playoff. Maybe you beat Georgia. You see Georgia dealing with a running back injury today. They lost a player for the season. What's his name? I just saw it. Robinson, the seats. Georgia's Branson Robinson, former number 1 running back in the 2022 class, sophomore running back, will miss the entire season with a ruptured patellar injury, but they'll just roll out more and more talent. Georgia. What's the bottom line for Alabama? Are we making the playoffs? Are we getting back to the Bama standard?
Yeah, I'm going to go to that Iron Bowl this year, by the way. It's going to be the first one in Jordan-Hare. Haven't bought tickets yet, but maybe I should, just in case Auburn's good. And that ticket becomes a $500 ticket. But 10.5 wins. I will say, I do think they can lose 2 games and still get to the playoff. There is a path there because you can lose to Texas, still beat LSU, maybe lose to, Tennessee, and then win the SEC championship and be the first 2-loss team to make the college football playoff. That's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm never going to predict that they're not going to make the playoff, but I am trying to look at it objectively. The pieces are there. Yes, you lose Bryce Young. Yes, you lose Will Anderson. That being said, I really do think there's a case to be made that every position group on this team is better than last year's team. Obviously not at quarterback, but, besides the quarterback position. It wasn't Bryce Young that was the problem last year. It was ultimately the pieces around him that were the problem last year. The offensive line play was a problem. The receiver play was a problem. I do think I am hopeful that this receiver group is going to be better this season. I think Malik Benson is going to be huge, and I think that the guys that are already there are going to improve. So, yeah, I mean, I do think Alabama can make the playoff. I'm certainly not casting doom and gloom. I certainly think it's far from a sure thing. I think you got to beat LSU. Ultimately, I think LSU is the team. I wouldn't say they're necessarily the team to beat. It's funny, we talked all week at Nashville at SEC Media Days, like, is LSU the new favorite in the West? And ultimately, it was still Alabama predicted to win the SEC West narrower than it's been in a long time. But, yeah, I mean, I'm still going to predict Alabama. You got these tough games at home, so I think that's a big feather in the cap. And I do think Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele are gonna help. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to really the offensive line. The offensive line can take a big step from last year, and you're able to run the ball and suffocate teams with a running game and at least decent defense. The defense doesn't fold and give – I mean, if you give up one less touchdown to Jalen Hyatt last season, you're in the SEC championship but depending on what happens, there's a lot of ifs there with LSU. But you're probably in the SEC championship last season. You can make one stop in the fourth quarter against LSU last season. You're in the SEC championship last season and probably the college football playoff. Now, there's a lot of ifs on the games they won, of course. Like, you can play the if and what game all day. I've played it a lot. But that being said, with the Patriots too. That being said, yeah, I do. If you're saying gun to my head, make a prediction, sure. Let's say this team is going to make the college football playoff, at least win the SEC West. Because if they go in, I think there's a chance they go into the SEC championship with a loss, and ultimately maybe Georgia's too much at that point. But keep in mind also, if they do end up facing Georgia in the SEC championship, it's going to be the first good team Georgia's faced all year. Which I like Bama's chances in that scenario.
My man Wendell Hare agreeing with you. We will see our first two-loss team make the playoff. My biggest concerns, my biggest pitfalls are Texas coming in week number 2 and going out to A&M. I think you take an inexperienced quarterback out to A&M, you get 110,000 people in the stadium swaying. It's going to be at night. Oh, yeah. Even Bryce Young couldn't overcome out there at A&M.
My hatred for A&M has really been on a steady uptick the last couple.
I don't hate him. I just think what do you hate about him?
Yeah, that midnight yell. God, they are. I cannot stand Jimbo Fisher. Like, A&M, obviously, put Auburn at the top if we're ranking hatred, and Georgia kind of is closing in on second place. Tennessee, throw Tennessee and LSU in whatever order you want, but A&M is kind of right there behind. I mean, they're and if they are ever good and figure it out against Jimbo, they just might pass LSU. I don't have the same disdain for LSU that a lot of people have. Not that I like them, but Brian Kelly, he's a hell of a football coach, and they certainly deserved everything they had last year. We'll see if they can take the next step this year.
Michael, it's been a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I hope that everybody enjoyed listening to Michael Brauner from WNSP 105.5 down there in Mobile. You can hear him in the mornings and read him at WNSP.com. Tell everybody where they can find you or follow you on social media and any other projects you want to chat about real quick before we get you out of here. Or if you want to just give a Patriots, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, give me a follow on Twitter at mbrauner WNSP. Something really exciting, if you want to hear Ryan Williams on Friday night, they're taking on Lipscomb Academy. I'm actually going to be doing play-by-play for WNSP, making my debut tomorrow night with Spanish Fort against Fairhope. So that's it's going to be interesting. I've never done play-by-play before, so it might be a little bit rough at first. But we got Saraland Lipscomb on Friday night. So if you're in Tuscaloosa and want to hear how Ryan Williams is doing, download the Sound of Mobile app. We'll be calling play-by-play. I think Lipscomb is a hell of a program, a hell of a team. They got two of the best players in the state of Tennessee that are both committed to play at Tennessee. But Sarah, we know about Saraland. That their fame kind of goes beyond the Mobile area right now. So if you want to hear how KJ Lacey and Ryan Williams are doing on Friday night in that huge game on ESPN as well, I'm competing with an ESPN broadcast.
Hey, we love it.
Debut. So but if you want to hear how Ryan Williams is doing, check out the Sound of Mobile app. We'll be calling it on Friday night.
Okay, and the details on the Spanish Fort, because you got Sterling Dixon, the other Alabama commit. What the details on Spanish Fort again? One more time.
Yes, that is. So they kick off their season tomorrow night. They host Fairhope at home. Sterling Dixon's debut for Spanish Fort. He just transferred there as well. You can also check that out. Sound Mobile app. We'll be broadcasting that. That's my actual play-by-play debut. So again, it's different. I'm working on it. I'm practicing. It's it might be rough for a couple of weeks, but someone had to step up and do play-by-play this year. So I guess.
Are you doing play-by-play or color or handling both ends?
I'm doing play-by-play, and I'll have Brian Gennard on color with me.
There you go. That'll be a lot of fun, man. We will definitely download the Sound of Mobile app to listen to Spanish Fort and to, of course, listen to Saraland. You got a bunch of Alabama commits in those mixtures. Hey, if you see Ryan Williams, tell him I've been trying to talk to him. I got Sterling Dixon on. And, I know Ryan's Ryan Hollywood Williams for a reason.
Hollywood. I'll see what I can do.
Is he reclassifying to 2024? That's been the latest rumor.
I'll say we should hope so. From an Alabama perspective, we could use him right now. He really is that. And I know you got to wrap up, but he really is. Good. He really is. Relative to competition, like he's the best athlete I've ever seen in person. It truly is remarkable watching him play football. It truly is a gift to be able to call 7 Saraland games or whatever the number is that we're doing this year. I'm so excited about it. I don't have any inside knowledge as to whether he actually is going to reclassify, but from watching him play, I can tell you he certainly is. He could reclassify 2 years and play for Alabama this year. I can tell you that firsthand.
He's a talented kid, and you can listen to Michael Brauner call those games on the Sound of Mobile app. Thanks so much for your time, Michael. It was an absolute pleasure. You helped me out immensely today.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I always enjoy it.
Absolutely. That's Michael Brauner, everybody, and we appreciate him. Make sure you go follow him at mbrauner, WNSP. Download the Sound of Mobile app. You can keep up with those Alabama recruits down there in Mobile. He's going to be giving you all kinds of play-by-play action. We appreciate his time. We'll catch up. This was a second appearance from Michael on the new program. We'll try to get a third or a fourth appearance before the football season ends. It's been a great Wednesday for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the program. CJ Watson and Wendell Hare, I really appreciate you guys hanging out and joining us on the Facebook comment side of things. CJ, I'm with you. Tennessee loss is not happening. It's not happening. No. And that is our number one. That's my number one. I know everybody hates Auburn, but Tennessee just puts me into a different mental state. And that week is going to be a huge week here in Tuscaloosa. So I appreciate everybody hanging out with us in the comments side. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, anywhere and everywhere at Joe Gaither 6. I appreciate any comments, questions, queries, complaints. You want to disagree? That is A-OK. Please disagree with me anytime you want to. No big deal at all. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon as well. Subscribe, rate, review the program, all that good stuff. Tell a friend about the show. We've been having a little bit of growth. I appreciate everybody. I love it so much. I do this for you guys as best I can. Little updates. Still trying to work with Jay McPhillips to get to get a little Yay Alabama perspective. I know last Friday I talked about Yay Alabama and maybe said some things that weren't always true. So we're going to get Jay McPhillips on very, very soon to talk about Yay Alabama. I've had some communication with Carrollton. We're going to get some contact with Caleb Odom here pretty soon. Next Monday, we're going to be joined by Eric Anders, Mr. Alabama outside linebacker. You know and remember him, the sack fumble on Garrett Gilbert against Texas in 2009 to seal the deal against Texas in the Rose Bowl. We'll have Eric Anders on Monday to talk MMA with him, to talk about his career. But Eric Anders is going to be one of the 2 honorary captains for the MTSU matchup. And then subsequently, we're going to be having an MTSU staff writer join us on Tuesday to talk about the Blue Raiders. So it's going to be a good couple of days coming up here on the Joe Gaither Show. Stick with us and download, or stick with us and make sure you subscribe to BamaCentral.com. At 6 o'clock, we will be all over Nick Saban's press conference. Nick Saban talking at the Naylor Stone Media Room. 6 p.m. tonight, Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon will be there, and I'll be in support of them as well. So follow us at BamaCentral.com. You've got our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcasts, all things Bama and Blue Collar Unplugged. I am the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. I appreciate you, the listener, the viewer, the most. And for another edition, we'll be back on Thursday with another edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.